Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Fakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Stone, to the Akim Akrath, throughout the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth and diligence of mind to the gospel of the Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. This is Bramnasha, this is Camp. Brief lesson for the hopeful elect. Years so the drums of war are being beaten. You know, the elites of this world, they just tending to pull a fast one, and so according to prophecy, they're desperate, to bring their agenda to pass, only to really, really know, you know, on our part, to know that it's all part of Yahweh Shema Shai's plan to orchestrate the events that will lead to our salvation, our deliverance, all right? So all that chaos you see in the Middle East, is bitter, but at the same time, it's also sweet. That's why this precept, Jeremiah 49 and 20 says, "Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shemashai, that he had proclaimed, or that he had taken against Edom." All right. So you see that the Lord is against Edom, man. Edom is at its peak. It can't go no higher. There's no amount of warfare that they can prosecute to get them to the next level. The Lord has already limit. I'm just saying reach. The Lord has limited their reach. All right, He has put a limit on their accomplishment. All right, the Lord had taken against Edom, or that's the so-called white man. Amalek. The so-called Jewish folks, man. That have their hands in this chaos that they are orchestrating towards Iran. And his purposes that he had proposed against the inhabitants of Teman, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So that's a conclusion that we're going to be seeing very soon, man, because that conflict is going to lead to the demise. It's going to lead to the downfall of America and so-called state of Israel. That's just how the Lord has put it. All right. So, in all these military institutions, they have the researchers, they have scholars that get access to historical record, and they study events, and then they also look into the scriptures, and then they do like a profile in leadership. They do a profile in the like a discourse. When it comes to how the king handles business. They study about dynamics between the dynamics of economics between different kingdoms. The fall of one kingdom and the next. Just like I'm sure you've seen that video of the historian in the United States, was the army that was taking those soldiers around Iraq, showing them the historical locations. The history of those places, man. Those structures, those palaces, those paintings, those statues, everything. So you have that knowledge sitting down, in books, and then you understand that, the scholars provide information for the military. You have all types of experts when it comes to geography, so they have to plug all that information into the computer system, and then they design their model of of attack. All right. So you see, the video says Iran has launched strike on Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, and Kuwait after Israel and United States attack on Tehran. So this is from the Al Jazeera English channel on YouTube. So it's just what you have to expect, man. You know, it's part of the bitterness of this gospel, and you just have to be prepared for it, man. You know, the chaos that's coming is gonna be like it has never been before. All right, just give me one moment. Yeah, so that's the grief that's coming, man. Because early this morning when that attack happened, I was watching CNN. It was like, oh well, are they gonna be for real this time? And then you realize, you know what, through the spirit, you're just gonna let it simmer down until they're ready to push this chaos to the next level. Because all those allies of Iran, they're gonna have to make a commitment. But you already know what the secret is, man. They have to come up with an event to use Iran as a destruction because Esau wants that birthright back. So he has to build up that animosity, little by little, so they can expand that chaos. So it's all it is, man. It's just testing the response of the people because the elites want that birthright back, man. They want the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans to be slaves forever, man. They want us to be subjugated. So this is one of their cards that they have to play to bring about the elimination of our people. They have to create an environment for our people to be hopeless and just give up. So it's through the spirit of the Lord of Mashiach Yahushai. That's not going to happen. Despite the 2/3, falling away. So you just have to be steadfast all the way to the end. So another precept would be from the book of Joel. Joel chapter 2 and 20. He says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army." All right, so that's gonna be the United States military. With all the bases over there in Africa and the Middle East and Southeast Asia or wherever, the Pacific. It's just targets, man. Greater targets for the rivals. For the enemies of United States Army. Their opponents. Okay, yeah, their opponents are gonna have to use those army bases as targets. As a targeting practice when the Lord gives the green light. So all those bases, you see over there in the Middle East, many of them are going to be hit. It don't matter if it's in Africa, in Europe, when the time for them to get hit, they're going to get hit. That's just, end times prophecy. All right. So it says, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. All right, so that's gonna be in the desert region of the Middle East, man. Even the so-called so-called Fertile Crescent is looking like a barren and desolate. zone, and because the curse of the Lord has made that location, so unproductive. All right, and his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea. All right, so yeah, it's just how it is, man. And those two major water bodies will be all right, for the East Sea. That's going to be the Euphrates River. That's one of the major rivers, major bodies of water that flows through Babylon, which is Iraq. Okay, so you're gonna have a chaos, and Iraq is next to Syria, and it's also next to Turkey. So you're gonna see some chaotic events there soon, and this hinder part toward the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea. So hey, all those naval ships are gonna have to decide how they're gonna position themselves, man. You know, to to come against their so-called opponents. And his stink shall come up. All right, so there's gonna be a lot of dead bodies in that region of the Middle East, man. And his ill savor shall come up because he had done great things. All right, so the Lord is gonna cause a lot of pain in that region of the world, man. He's gonna destroy, the civilizations of the heathen, because the West, in the United States, is gonna have to do what they do best, man. Unleash the wrath of their weapons, you know, upon those regions, man. So that's just the chaos. And when you have those troops being deployed, it's gonna be another exercise for how you say collateral damage, cannon fodder. Yeah, so lots of military personnel are gonna lose their lives, man. Ray Ray, Chacho, Boniqua, and Angelina that want to get out of the hood just because they couldn't get no opportunities. They want to join the military, to have an opportunity. Well, they're gonna send them over there, man. Lots of soldiers are gonna be eliminated. At home and abroad, because the destruction of America is also a major event and prophecy, and it's scary that a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's on the track. It's on the right track for elimination. For what do you call it? For collapse. And then you have all those detention centers being bought up. Being built. Being retrofitted. So they're gonna have to put lots of people in those concentration camps, man. They're gonna have to throw people, in cages, and yeah, so it's gonna be chaos, So you could imagine when the War Powers Act, is being disregarded, and then you have the executive branch, that's the president's, you know, just going, to wage war on a foreign nation. That shows you that the so-called constitution has been done away with, because the so-called senators are not doing anything. They've all been hijacked and compromised. That's why the Epstein files exist. They got their monies tied up in some phony, operation. Now they're nervous, you know, to let the truth come out, so they have to pretend as if they are outraged. So you see all the hand signs. You see them complaining and yelling, and then you go back years and start digging up archives, and you see that it's all a dog and pony show. Yeah, so they've been bought off, man. The scam and outrage about this Epstein stuff is just hilarious. Even the FBI is just dragging their feet. Justice Department, the same thing. You know, the CIA, all that stuff. It's just a waste of time. Watching those hearings. It's just what you call your proverbial dog and pony show. Yeah, so when you don't have no backbone in the government, to bring any reasoning to the madness, it just shows you that they've all been placated, man. They've all, drunk the Kool-Aid, all right? So that's going to lead to a lot of chaos, man. That draft is coming. The draft is coming, and a lot of people are just upset. Folks that drank the Kool-Aid of MAGA, they're gonna be upset that the politicians are going along with Amalek. The so-called Jewish folks, man. So that influence is gonna become a cancer in the mind of the people. That the people will have to revolt, and that's why those detention centers are gonna be used. If you think ICE is gonna be the one on the street chasing people, you just wait and see. So who's gonna be putting people in those detention facilities? All right. So the stage is being set. All right, the stage is being set. So just to wrap this up, keep this lesson short. We'll go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 66 and 16. What does it say? For by fire and by his sword would the Lord by Shimashai, by Shimakakadash, plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So this is just the prelude. This event, this chaos over there in the Middle East, is just the prelude to the Most High, unleashing his wrath upon the face of the earth, upon the four corners of the earth, man. Moab gotta get it. Ishmael, Elam, Ham, Japheth, Edom, you know, all 18 nations upon the earth are gonna get it, man. Assyria, Aram, they all gotta get it, man. The Lord has to, press. Even the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, in the book of Isaiah 63, it tells you clearly what he's gonna do. You know, in 63 and 1, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments? From Bozrah. You see that? Edom, 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 Edom. So the Lord has a controversy with Edom. All right. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So, yeah, so the Lord Amashak Yahushua is going to persecute the war of the Lord against his enemies upon the face of the earth. So remember, man, the Lord Amashak Yahushua is going to have to show up when Esau's about to fill up his belly. The ultimate grand entry. All right, so that's what we're looking forward to. That's the reason why the Lord Hamashiach Yahushua is coming. It says if the reign of Esau would not be cut short, the there'll be few people left. The elect will not be able to be delivered, man. The people, the Lord has already made up his mind that his elect, the remnant, have to be delivered. That's just the plan of the Lord. the Lord's declaration, that that very same of his apostles, the one third, the elect, will not taste of death. It's a certain portion of that number, you know, that has to be delivered by the Lord, that they shall not taste death, you know, despite all the chaos we have to deal with. So that's a prayer, we're hoping for, that we do not see the downfall, of all the elect, man, even though, some of us will have to transition, during the ups and downs as we get closer and closer to our salvation, and as we deal with the persecution. You just got to pray that the words of the Lord, is fulfilled in whatever you do, in this ministry. So that's the point of this lesson, man. You could always tell that, this is going to be happening in America soon, man, when you have all these chaotic, neighborhoods, man. Neighborhoods just being burned down due to the fall of chaos. You know, all this, man. Everything is just leading towards the end of Babylon. All the stories of Babylon is leading in the direction of elimination. All right. So that's the point of this lesson about Balthazar. You've been edified, and you just gotta keep on holding on in sincerity and in truth, to the faith of the Lord, the Mashiach Yahushai. Shalom.